What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Isaac, aka The Baddest, and today we have the first real interview of this channel. This is a very exciting time. I have with me the developer of the Five Nights at Freddy's fan game Grizzlies, Lester Tellez.
Hey guys, what's up?
I'm very excited to do this. I did a video on Grizzlies a while back. It has almost 500,000 views. So chances are you've seen it if you're watching this. Me and Lester here have been talking back and forth since a little bit before that video came out, and I'm here to ask him some questions about himself and his game and what he does. And hopefully we'll learn something from this experience. Are you prepared for this?
Yes, I think it takes a lot of guts though, but I think I'm good. I'm ready.
So I just want to start off just to give a little more background on you. I just have just simple like a job interview. Just tell the audience about who you are, what you think they should know, who you are, and what you do.
Okay, so obviously I'm Lester Tellez, 17 years old. I actually live in Miami, Florida. I am just kind of an indie developer pretty much. Not really making any money, but it's okay. Video games is kind of my thing. I really enjoy doing it. But I'm going to senior year of high school, so I will be graduating in 2023. But you know, off to college. I'm actually looking into probably going to UCF, which is the University of Central Florida, which has like the number one video game program like out of the entire country, I believe it is. So that's going to be something that I'm really looking forward to, in the future. But for now, I'm still in Miami, but everything's all good here.
All right, that's really cool. We're both graduating in 2023.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
A little more history. You somewhat talked about this, but a little more history to it. How did you get into game development? Where did you start, and how did you start?
okay. So I pretty much I believe it was like 2015, 2016. I don't know if you guys have seen the game. I believe it was Whoppers, I believe it was. It was something created by Robin Thar's Games or Rotos, they go by. He's a pretty good friend, and I like him a lot. He's a pretty cool guy. And when he used to make like these scratch games like a long time ago, I had seen them and I was like, oh, cool, I want to do something like that. So for like 2.5 years, I completely like made like full length Five Nights at Freddy's games on Scratch. And then I actually joined a Discord server one day, and I actually met the developer of Juniors on there, and I started talking to them there while they were much less well known and not as hated as now. But yeah, but it's all I just met them, and they were still working on the week at Eddie's or something like that, and
Yeah.
then we just kind of became acquaintances, and from there for the next 6 years I began working on Tom's Play. That didn't work out. I released Devious Minds, and then I wasn't happy with it, so then I made Grizzlies, and that ended up being even though there was a lot of ironic reception, I think it was even though it's ironic positive reception, I take that as unironic because it means that people enjoyed it nonetheless. So I think it
Right.
was a pretty good success, for what it was. And now I'm working on the sequel to Grizzlies, which is Grizzlies 2.
Yeah. I respect the positive outlook because I think that's a totally fair way to look at it. Because even the people that have been critical of it seem to really love it in their own way.
Right, I understand that. So,
So, somewhat actually continuing off of that, I'm wondering how has the development, release, and success of the game impacted your life?
well, I actually okay. So when the game, I was actually like the last couple of days before the game was out, my mom had actually flown over from California, for some like other reasons or whatever. So I was at my grandmother's house, and I was kind of grinding on it, and I worked on it pretty extensively for a kind of like hours on end. And then eventually I released the game. I believe it was like at 8:30 or something. And I went to go grab Chick-fil-A, and I came back and I looked at my phone and I saw Fusion's notification for the video, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Like I guess people are already playing it within like 40 minutes." And then like Rexter, which is also Fusion's brother, also played it as well. Like within like he actually played it within like 15 minutes or something. I was like, "Whoa." So, and then it was funny seeing Fusion's reaction to a bunch of things because,
Hmm.
he probably was really thrown off by the fact that, there was a lot of guts and politics in the whole thing. So,
Fusion is
but, I
fast.
feel like that what?
Fusion is fast. He gets his videos out on like brand new
Yeah, he
days
does get them out
instantly.
pretty fast. But I didn't expect it to be that fast. And then, of course, like little people make videos here and there, but I think ultimately it was very positive. Even my friends at school, and actually your video, some kids at my school found it before I even told them. And they were like, "Oh, Lester, is this a video on your game?" And I was like, "Yeah." They were like, "Dude, I found it before you even told me." And I was like, "Oh."
That's funny.
So I feel like, yeah, that was kind of funny. But yeah, I think it's been pretty cool. And now, after Phil stream, which shout out to Phil, he's amazing. I love the way FNAF Plus is looking. I don't know if you guys have seen the development. What was it? The development update like 2 weeks back. He released some gameplay and it
Yeah.
looks phenomenal. I'm really excited for FNAF Plus. And actually, it's kind of funny because if you look in the gameplay, there's the clock on the wall and there's the
Yep.
moving around of the camera. So basically, it was the clock and the zooming. Not really the zooming in, but it's more like the moving your camera around. So, which that's what I figured it was. I didn't think it was the clock though. But yeah, that was revealed.
Yeah.
So
For
that was pretty cool
context,
to
because
see.
I'm assuming this is what you're talking about because I remember this vividly. For context, when Fiznum, the developer of FNAF Plus, streamed Grizzlies, he said, "I can't believe I have to admit this, but there is something that's in this game that will be in FNAF Plus." And
Right.
I'm sure you've been thinking about that ever since because I know I have.
Right, because I'm like, what is it? What is it? And then when I saw the gameplay, I was like, oh, I'll have to check it out. And then I saw the clock and I saw the zooming in. I was like, oh, okay, I got it. So, but ultimately, it went pretty well. And because of the stream that Phil did, many people were excited to then hop on board to Grizzlies 2 because Grizzlies 2 is actually supposed to be much different compared to how it is right now. Like the way it's going now, it was supposed to be completely different. So I'm glad it's going in the direction it's going. It's looking good. We're still kind of, even though we've been developing this for quite some time now, we're still kind of in the beginning of development, sort of ish. Not really the beginning, but we have a lot of work to do. We are nowhere near finished, but we're gonna try to work as hard as we can. No release date as of yet. I have no release date for you guys. Definitely not this year. Next year, I mean, I don't even know about next year. I'd say probably wait for it. Maybe early 2024. I'd say
Wow.
if we work efficiently enough, it's probably gonna be out by the end of 2023. But there's no way it's coming out this year. It's no way.
Grizzlies is obviously most known for its how its story involves politics because it really stands out in the FNAF fan game scene. Um, so, and I think a lot of people wonder because of how much it reflects like the conspiracies of the 2020 election kind of thing. How much of Grizzly's content is based in your beliefs, and are those messages meant to be related to reality at all?
Well, really, I am more of an independent sort of voter. I can't vote obviously, and I haven't been able to vote
Right.
my whole life. But in terms of that, I am not somebody who's very partisan. I vote based on who I believe will do the best job, anyways. But that's beside the point. I took inspiration from real life to try to create an interesting story, and it did come across the wrong way because obviously my storytelling skills are not, weren't really up there for Grizzlies. I felt like if I had toned some things down and stuff like that, it would have came across a little better. But in terms of the game, the president is not a part of a political affiliation. He is not a Republican or a Democrat. And I did that on purpose to avoid controversy. And,
Mm.
of course, still people were like, oh my God, it's political and all that stuff. But I ultimately, he is not a part of a political affiliation. He is an independent candidate who was able to kind of work around the system and stuff like that. So that's, basically how it is. all the presidents in our lifetime are basically not canon. So Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush, like all those guys are not actually canonical in Grizzlies. I think the farthest back it goes is probably until Bush. So basically, you could say Bill Clinton and backwards, those people still exist within the Grizzlies universe if you guys wanted to know that. But anybody past 2000 is basically non canon. They would be just whatever. But that's not really even important to the story, anyways. It's just for people who were wondering, oh, those four modern presidents do not exist within the Grizzlies universe. And I also did that to avoid controversy as well. So
Okay, yeah. So you kind of touched on there the people's reactions to the political, um, story. I'm wondering if, because once again, what Grizzlies is most known for is its political focus. Do you think the public perception of Grizzlies being about politics is a negative or a positive thing?
actually don't know. I feel like in terms of getting the game, I guess in a sense it was sort of an accidental marketing kind of thing because
Right.
in reality, it being more people seeing it as political kind of boosted its appearance in a sense. Not really like in a really really good way, but it wasn't a bad thing because people were like, "Oh, what is this game? What is this game?" So ultimately, more people ended up playing it, and because of the fact that people found it so interesting, more people were playing it and not just watching YouTube videos. What I also really like seeing about Grizzlies is even though like Fusion was the only one who pretty much played it out of all like Dawko and all those people, I actually basically every week I look up Grizzlies on YouTube and I see like little small YouTubers who make videos on Grizzlies, and they always either are like people always finish the game entirely or they stream it in one sitting or they film a whole video in one sitting, which I think is really good because most of the times people make videos on fan games and they never finish them. So the fact that basically I think there's only one YouTuber that I've seen that never finished the game. But other than that, everyone actually finished it. So I think that was a really positive thing as well. Even though it's not a standard FNAF game and all this stuff, people still finished it and people still played it. And I felt like more people who tend to just watch the videos because they don't feel like playing actually got to play the game.
Okay, so here I have a pretty standard question. I'm sure you've been asked this before. Was there anything in particular that inspired you to make Grizzlies slash Devious Minds?
Well, actually, Devious Minds was from a while back. It was kind of after Tom's Plague had failed. Tom's Plague was an old game that I was doing and stuff like that with the modeler of Juniors, the guy who just revived Juniors, Derek. He was actually like the co-director slash modeler for all everything in Tom's Plague. And then we released a demo and it did really bad and barely anyone played it. And it wasn't a good game and I had it kind of rushed because I was impatient and everyone was kind of like, "What the hell?" So that kind of got canceled. And then over time, I started working on my skills. And then once I started making a little demo, people were like, okay, he's actually taking it seriously. So basically, over the course, I think it was from like 2018. Like, it was from like August of 2018 to the end of 2019 was the full development of Grizzlies. Or not Grizzlies, Devious Minds. That was the complete development. And then in 2020, I tried doing files at corporate, and then it didn't end up working out. So I just went back to Grizzlies in the beginning of 2021, and I made a new Grizzly for fun. This is basically what happened. When I started making Grizzlies as it is today, I just made a new Grizzly model for fun, and I was like, oh, this actually doesn't even look that bad. Somebody retextured it, and I was like, whoa, it looks really good. So I made the other characters, and I was like, oh, let me try like making an office, and I made a pretty good office, and I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna make this into a game then. And then that was it. So really, I started making Grizzlies 1 in the beginning of like sort of the end of January and it came out in August. So it really took me only 8 months to make the game.
Yeah, I guess if you already had the experience of working on Devious Minds and other projects, that makes sense. So, okay, this is kind of a throwaway question. You don't have to answer this, but if there's anything that Grizzlies left me wondering, it's this. You don't have to reveal too much. You don't have to reveal too much about the lore if you don't want to. But this is the most confusing part to me. Why is Grizzly wearing a suit? Is he actually meant to resemble a politician? Why?
He is
Why is that
not
a
meant
thing?
to resemble. He is not meant to resemble a politician. He's actually supposed to be a pianist, like a pianist. He's
Ah,
supposed to play the piano. So it was meant to be more fancy, but I guess since you had the president, you had Grizzly in the studio, it's like, oh my god, guys, look, Grizzly's the president, which is like kind of funny as hell. And people like drew that conclusion. I understand, it makes sense, and it was kind of a funny coincidence. I didn't really realize it until I started seeing the videos, and I was like, oh crap, he's even got the red tie and everything. But no, he's not actually supposed to represent a politician. He's actually a
ah,
pianist, so he's supposed to be more fancy, if anything. It really wasn't supposed to come across as a political thing or whatever. And the thing is, I never really meant the game to be known as a political game. I just wanted to set a game of FNAF in the dystopian future and actually have
right.
it somewhat make sense in a way. And I was like, oh, world building, world building. And obviously, I didn't execute it the best possible way. So, but yeah, I feel like overall, yeah, it wasn't supposed to be a politician thing. He's
Right.
a pianist. Yeah.
Okay. That's actually really interesting. I actually, yeah, I think a lot of people, I guess because they were so thrown off by the absurdity of it, I guess no one really framed it that way. That is an interesting way of putting it. A FNAF game that takes place in a dystopian kind of future. That actually is a really interesting concept. You actually kind of talked about this a bit, but maybe we could get a little more in depth with it. I'm just wondering how you generally handle criticism. Grizzlies has received its fair share of critiques. Once again, the majority being about the strangeness of the politics being in it. How do you handle criticism of your work online?
I've seen comments here and there like, oh my god, it's so political, it's fuck Grizzlies because oh my god, it's so controversial and all this. But I mean, it's if you enjoy the game, you enjoy the game. If you don't, you don't. Obviously, my team has given me criticism from the original game, and I've listened to them, and now I'm putting that into Grizzlies too. But in terms of like just people online, it's kind of just like I like to receive. I kind of look into the criticism I get more from my team than really from just regular people, unless if it's like a friend of mine or like my family or something. Then that's different. Actually, a big side note for an example of this, Gladiator George, who's in Grizzlies 2, the design is actually inspired by my uncle. My uncle was like, yo, like, because I told him, oh, I'm making a line. He was like, oh, you should give it like a shield and like a sword or a cane and make it like a gladiator. So basically, the reason why he's a gladiator is because of my uncle. Pretty much it.
Hmm. I
Oh
think
yeah, but that's just one example of me. Like if it's like hateful criticism, basically what I mean is if it's hateful criticism, I'm like okay. But if it's constructive criticism, I will sit there and listen and take it into consideration.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the best outlook you can have when you're putting stuff out there for the public to see.
Right.
This is a more personal question about Grizzlies for you. I just I want to give you the chance to say what is something that you personally really like about Grizzlies. It could be something. It could be about how it's affected you, or just something within the game. What is something that you personally
Actually,
love about
really like.
Grizzlies?
I kind of like Grizzly's character a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt because really, essentially, what it is. I'm not going to give away too much of the lore, but really, what it is, it's supposed to be since it's in the future. It's supposed to be like a super. Excuse me. It's supposed to be like a super like ridiculously complicated AI that has feelings. Like
Hmm.
that's all it is. And so like the combination of the voice and his motives and like how weird he is, because I wanted to make Grizzly weird because
Right.
like especially how the night 5 phone call he was like oh come to the secret room and oh and stuff like that. He's supposed to be taken as an obsessive person who's very possessive, even though he's not a person. I just
Right.
specifically made him be weird because I liked that about him, and I guess it fit with the voice and the design. So I think that it was probably my favorite part of Grizzlies. I do really I liked giving him his own little like quirks and stuff like that, and I feel like that's gonna be something that's touched upon in Grizzlies 2 a lot more. Each of the characters are gonna have their own persona and all of this kind of stuff. So I'm actually excited to be working on that as well. So
Okay. Cool. Um, I have one more question about Grizzlies, and then I want to sort of switch subject matter. Um,
Okay.
is there how, and this is just something, it's up to you, I guess. Is there anything you'd like to tease about Grizzlies 2?
Okay, so I'm gonna be very selective and careful with what I say. It's going well. We're still working on certain models and planning out certain things, but I feel like overall it's going pretty good. It is not going to be just a play Five Nights game and that's it. We're going to do something a little bit like I mean it's technically like it's kind of more of a campaign mode kind of thing. You know how when you play like shooter games, it's like, oh, start the campaign or whatever. It's kind of like that. It's not like a Five Nights thing. It's more of like a story mode kind of deal. Um, but it is going to be more immersive. I'm going to try to. There's something. Here's one thing I'll say about the game because a lot of the team members have said, "Hey, look," like, or just people in general have said, "Hey, look, you should keep the game easy like the first one, so people enjoy the game like they did the first one." And a lot of other people are like, "Man, you should make the game harder because the first game's gameplay was so what." So what I'm doing is there's going to be an intern mode and a manager mode pretty much what it is. So the intern mode is basically like the AI has turned really down and it walks you through the game a lot more through like text tips. So people who enjoyed the simplicity of Grizzlies 1 can enjoy Grizzlies 2 being a more atmospheric experience, if that makes sense. And then Grizzlies, like the manager mode, is more of like how the game is actually supposed to be played. There's a lot of critical thinking that goes into the player in Grizzlies 2. Grizzlies 2 is not going to be I kind of don't want to spoil a lot, but the AI of the characters is not going to just be move around here, move around here. That's all I'm going to say. It's not going to be like just they move here and they move here and that's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. You're going to have to be on your toes a lot and there's going to be a lot to manage. But overall, I think it's going to be a pretty fun game to develop and I think it's going to be a pretty fun experience for people to play when it comes out.
All right. Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. I can tell that you and people you work with have put quite a bit of thought into this. So yeah, I want to change gears for a bit as Grizzlies is a FNAF fan game.
Right.
It stands out a lot. It's very unique, and Grizzlies 2 sounds like it'll be even different, even more different. But I just want to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's for a bit because that is clearly
Okay.
one of the or I guess a big reason that Grizzlies exists.
Yeah, why we're even here in the first place,
Yeah.
anyways. So, shout out to Scott Cawthon, man. He's a trooper because he got canceled over that whole thing and stuff like that. And I respect his beliefs and stuff like that. I just feel really bad for him because like man, like he was such a chill guy and did so much for like half of his fan base to just be like, oh screw you. Like, and I understand that people have their opinions about what he believes in, what he says. I totally understand, but I feel like you shouldn't have to dox the guy and threaten to go kill his wife. That for me is a bit too much. I understand
Yeah.
you can feel a certain way about him and not support his work because of it, but don't go doxing people and threatening to go kill their family and to invade their house. That's where I draw the line. That's where I'm like, no, this is why I don't support the people who are hating on him because it's like you don't go doxing and threatening to go kill people. That's all I have to say about that. But anyways, keep
Yeah,
going.
I think with that situation, yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think with that situation, the whole thing is of like, I think anyone had the right to be upset with what happens. I think everyone has that right, and I understand where people are coming from, but like the whole thing of it is it just went way too far for no real reason.
Yes.
Steering away from a more from let's steer to a less controversial angle.
Right. Yes.
Just I just simply wondering when and I guess how did you become a FNAF fan?
Oh well, I was pretty much like in fourth grade and people were playing it, and I was like, "Oh, what the hell? What is this?" And then everything just went from there. The first Five Nights at Freddy's game I think I played was like FNAF 2 actually, and then I played FNAF 1 like 3 years later when I finally got it on my computer actually, and
Hmm.
then I finally was able to play FNAF 1 after like the longest time of not being able to play on it.
Another simple question: do you have a favorite FNAF game?
Of all the FNAF games that there is, I actually have to say it's really close between FNAF 1 and Sister Location.
Hmm. Okay.
The only reason why I feel like FNAF 1 barely beats Sister Location for me is that Sister Location's execution could have been better. I understand
Yeah.
what Sister Location was trying to do, and it was actually a really creepy concept. I think it was really scary, but overall, I don't know exactly how to feel about it because I don't think it was executed perfectly, or not even perfectly, but just that good. It was executed decently, but not to the point where it was easy for people to understand. Because then I was expecting a more understanding FNAF game too, because it was the voice acting and all this new stuff and the free roam and whatever. So I was like, oh my god, like we're gonna get so much lore. And of course, God, kept it more convoluted and it made
He
even
did his
more
thing.
questions out of it, like he does with every game. Which is there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, damn, like we can't have some answers for once, like
Yeah,
so.
I think that's a totally fair take. With Sister Location, it had great ideas. It was great conceptually, but yeah, it was definitely a lot of parts of it were definitely a bit of a bore to get through because it just
Right,
wasn't put together the best it could have been.
right.
Similar question: do you have a favorite FNAF fan game or one that inspires you,
Okay,
maybe? Or
favorite FNAF fan game. I actually, well, I mean, FNAF Plus looks really good, and I actually really like what Phil's doing with FNAF Plus. But I think as of now, one of my favorites is actually the original Tubbyland games. And
interesting.
that's actually what I took inspiration for like Grizzlies from. I actually was really inspired from the original Tubbyland games because especially the second game, I really for some reason I really like the voice of Poe from the original Five Nights at Tubbylands 2. I really like the way the voice was done because it sounds so natural, but it sounds super creepy at the same time. But it's not like how nowadays we're like now when people do FNAF fan games and the voice acting sounds really forced and all this stuff, like the characters seem way too over the top. I always like the more natural sounding voices. And I mean, of course, like for example, Funtime Freddy, I like that voice because it's done correctly and it's done good. But there's some games where there's certain things where it's like it's too over the top in a way.
Okay.
I think hold on, another FNAF fan game that I really like. I always liked the candy games; those were always
Yeah,
decent too. I think FNAF 2 was the weakest. Not FNAF 2, FNAC 2 was always the weakest one out of all of them.
I don't think that's a
But
hot take.
I really liked the third one. I liked the third one a lot. The third one was pretty good. Not my favorite, but it was pretty good. Let me try to think. I played some of Tealerland a little while back, and I actually thought it was pretty interesting. The only problem I had with it is the color palette. It's too brown.
Absolutely,
That
absolutely.
was the only issue with it, and like I love depth of field, but gosh, Nitro is like obsessed. He's like married to depth of field because you could barely see anything in the game. It looked really cool, but you could barely see anything, and it was too brown. Let me think of other stuff. Besides everything that happened, I still think Juniors looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think Juniors looks amazing, and especially it's because Derek modeled everything pretty much. I think he did all the model work for it, and Derek's really talented at what he does. He's amazing at modeling. He puts so much care into all the stuff he does. So I think that was really really interesting, and I'm really glad that he's the head of that now. Because I saw all the creepy like Chuck E. Cheese X style kind of things, and I'm like, why is nothing against Romanov, but it was just like, dude, this is because I knew Derek from before. The idea of having characters like that is Derek's art style, and I
Yeah.
almost feel like if you know what I mean, right? I almost feel like it was kind of like I felt like Derek should have been the one heading that project anyways. Um, but yeah,
So now we
But
have
yeah, you can move on.
we have a
Yeah.
question about a very dreaded topic, which is modern FNAF.
Modern. Oh,
I want to hear what your perspective on this is. What do you think the official Five Nights at Freddy's franchise should do going forward?
they need to go with FNF Plus.
Fair enough.
They need to go with Planet F. Literally, I understand the security breach tried doing its own thing and stuff like that, but the problem is that in their heads they're like, because that's the thing. A lot of people in my life are like, dude, why are you making FNAF games? That's for kids, and I guarantee you that Steel Wool thinks the same exact way. They're like, oh, this is really a kids game. Why do you think they made so many toys for the? I understand the toys thing, but they made the game for kids. That game was not made for actual horror audiences. There's no way possible. And I understand that they thought it was a smart marketing decision, but in reality, it really wasn't. Because all those kids don't play FNAF. They don't play the games. They just watch them on YouTube. So even if they get toys and stuff, in reality, you're leaving the base.
Yeah.
You're leaving the whole base of people who could have played it. If they actually made Five Nights at Freddy's like Security Breach an actually scary game, dude, they would have had everybody playing it. That was literally the perfect time to make an actually scary official FNAF game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they missed out on that because they could have reached out to a whole new base of fans who play on PlayStation and all stuff, and they completely screwed it up. But so it's funny because the people who don't like nostalgic FNAF in my school actually like Security Breach. And I hate Security Breach. And they're all like, dude, you're crazy. What are you talking about? You've been the biggest FNAF fan in our class since like 6th grade. And I'm like, yeah, but this isn't what FNAF is.
Yeah.
And they're looking at me all confused. But it's like, it's not the same because they don't understand because they really don't keep up with FNAF.
The thing with Security Breach, the point that I want to make is it did very well financially and even like review-wise. It was very successful. But if they marketed it towards the fan base of horror fans, it would have done even better.
It would have done much better.
Yeah.
It would have done much better. Much better. Yeah, it was successful, but it was successful among little kids, not among the actual base of people that you're supposed to get. Whenever someone
gets mad at me for criticizing Security Breach, I go to their channel, and their channel is just Roblox and Fortnite.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it is true.
Nothing wrong with
There's
that.
something. Yeah. But it is funny how like basically everybody who likes Security Breach is basically people who weren't FNAF fans before, or people that are just little kid FNAF fans. Yeah. Also, to kind of talk about that, Grizzlies 2 is being made to be geared towards horror audiences. Mm-hmm. I just feel like Grizzlies 2... Oh, by the way, Grizzlies 2 is actually going to have real gore.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so it's not going to be your, because none of the FNAF fan games nowadays, or any of the FNAF games, really have gore. This is probably going to be one of the more gory FNAF fan games, or FNAF games that are coming out as of recent, So
this is a deep question. We just shat on Security Breach, but here's a more deep question. So I guess generally speaking, what is the end goal for Grizzlies? Do you want Grizzlies to be a respected name amongst FNAF fans like Candies or The Joy of Creation? What do you want Grizzly's place in the FNAF community to be? What is your dream? What is your ideal?
Okay, so really, of course, it would be amazing if that would be the case. I would absolutely love that. No, I bet you, like Phil and Emil Mako, all these people were like, man, I wish that would be amazing too. And they probably saw Finance at Treasure Island and Finance at the Krusty Krab. They were like, damn, I want to be like that too. Of course, everybody in this community wants to be like that. I wouldn't have a problem being like that at all. However, my main goal with Grizzlies is to try to get non-FNAF fans to play FNAF. Because Grizzlies 2, I'm planning on releasing... You know how movies and video games do like little TV stops?
I'm not smart. What do you mean?
You know how... Not stop. You know how movies and games have these things called TV spots? where it's like little 15-second clips on TV,
Oh
like
yeah, okay,
advertising a
yeah.
movie. I'm actually planning on doing stuff like that on TikTok. I'm gonna make a new
Oh,
account just for Grizzlies too, but I'm gonna put it on TikTok. And I'm gonna put like these little things, and the game itself is going to be it's a FNAF game, and it's gonna feel like FNAF, but a lot of the stuff in it it's the way some of the things are rendered is not like your typical. It's gonna look more cinematic.
interesting. Yeah, I think the TikTok thing is actually a great idea because like TikTok might not be the best thing to monetize, but it is a good thing for advertising. So this is the final question. This is the big one.
Okay.
Don't actually, you don't don't actually try to get all prepared for something epic. Um, but this is very important to me. How did "It Takes Guts" become the slogan for Grizzlies? Where did that? How did that? It's in the game. I think 12 times, something like that. How did that
Yeah.
happen?
Okay, I just thought it was a cool thing to have in the game. I was like, oh, no fan game has used this. It sounds pretty cool. I mean, and it would probably be something, like if you were to think of Grizzlies, it'd be like, oh, it takes guts. I just didn't expect it to become a meme or anything like that. But I don't really mind it either because it being a meme ultimately publicizes and advertises the game even more.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
so at this point, it's kind of like it is what it is, and it's not really that big of a problem with me, honestly. I really don't mind.
Cool. So that's all the questions I had written down. Unless
Okay.
you're running low on time, I did ask the public for some
Oh no, I
questions.
have a lot of time. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go to my community post, and we're just gonna have a few fan questions. VB Brothers wants to know: Are you having fun with the development on the game?
Oh, Grizzlies 2, is that what he's referring to?
Yeah, because that's the one currently on.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's really nice working with a lot of people. We have now like we have a team of like what? I think it's probably like 30 people, something like that. And that's
Oh wow.
including everybody. Yeah, it's a big team for a FNAF fan game. But I have somebody, it's the TV Bunny is the TV Bunny is the voice acting director and sound designer, and they're getting all the voice actors, and they're going to be coaching everybody. So, and we also a lot of the VAs are not even in the FNAF community. A lot of them are not FNAF fan voice actors. A lot of them are not. I think there's probably like 3 or 4 of them that are FNAF voice actors, but the other, like as many as there are, the other ones are not. Like all the animatronic characters are all the VAs are not FNAF voice actors. Like FNAF community voice actors. They're all from not from the community. So and then working with Geb, who's basically my right hand man and is now the co-director of Grizzlies, has been amazing. He's been a huge help, and he's gonna make. I think his ideas and his vision combined with mine is going to make Grizzlies 2 a pretty interesting experience. And also to mention something, we actually got Baddington. I don't know if you guys have seen his videos like on YouTube and stuff like that get like millions and millions of views, but we actually got Baddington to do the VHS tapes for the game. So that's gonna,
What?
that's a big help.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, because I one day I saw his like YouTube, and I had seen it for like a while, and then one day I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, yo, Grizzlies 2 VHS tapes." He was like, "Yes."
Wow. Okay.
So we literally got the best possible person we could have gotten for that. So that was good.
That's
Um,
pretty fantastic.
Let me actually like go into the dev server and actually read off names. So I have Geb, who's basically the co-director. I'm not gonna read off like everybody because it's like confidentiality and things like that for the game. But we have artist Monster 24. He's a concept artist. We have Artie, who's doing some texturing and things like that. Baddington again is already doing VHS stuff. Firecat is animating and doing the cutscenes. Pixier is I believe is doing some animation. Shadow User is kind of like a graphical artist and renderer for the game as well. Aiden O'Flynn is doing all the OTS for the game. Aqua is kind of like a graphic designer for the game and stuff like that. Um, and then I'm not going to name any of the voice actors because of confidentiality. Announcement here. DA64 is a modeler for the game, but it's not an animatronic modeler, and it's not a prop modeler either. So that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Okay, interesting.
Then we go down. Mr. Bamingson is the actually Mr. Bamingson is his own. He has his own YouTube channel. He's some like regular. He's also not a part of the FNAF community either. He has like his own YouTube channel and does a bunch of edits and stuff like that and whatever. And he actually did the original trailer for Grizzlies 1. He did the first trailer, the one with Sleepwalk and all that.
Yeah.
So and then I believe WAX Games is the programmer for Grizzlies 2, and then that's pretty much it based off of like everybody so far, like all the technical modeling, animating and all that stuff. I mean all the VAs here, we have Alan, we have I don't really know how to pronounce his name. That well, I think his name is here it's Owa. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, and he's a voice actor. We have Astra, Camscam, DJ, Ginger Guy, KZ, and KZ's the guy who voices Jonathan from the original game. Mr. Smiley, Nick Cortez. Nick Cortez is doing Grizzly, actually. Ninjepson is a voice actor there. Shadow in the Void is the president. And Golf Trap is another VA as well. So that's literally every. Oh, and Lee Mao is a sound designer and stuff like that for the game too. So that's literally everyone.
Cool. So to answer the question, you are having fun with development, it sounds like.
Oh yeah. I am having a lot of fun. I just wanted to like shout out everybody and talk about the game itself and why I'm having a lot of fun with it.
All right, so this person has a lot of numbers in their name. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to spell out insane cyanide. Asks, what part of making the game? Well, for this, we'll talk about Grizzlies 1. What part of making the game was the most difficult?
The most difficult, I think, for me was actually the programming part. I actually did some like very minimal programming, but getting everything to like put it together was probably the hardest part.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure that's the most time consuming at the very least. So all right, we have one more from Dank.
Dank.
How did you come up with the name Grizzly?
I mean, I always liked Freddy and like Fredbear and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I want to make my own bear character, and I was like looking up different types of bears, and I saw Grizzly, and I was like, oh, Grizzly.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a valid response. Yeah, grizzly bear. That makes sense. Okay, so I think we are done here. I hope you guys watching learned from this or had a good time. Grizzlies 1 and 2 will be linked in the description, as well as Lester's Twitter if you want to keep up with stuff. And all of my links will of course be in the description as well. Yeah. Any parting words for the audience?
Well, I hope you guys are having a good weekend. I'm going to be probably, still working on Grizzlies 2. And then I'll be updating the Game Jolt page sometime soon. Not now, but in a couple of weeks, maybe few months, we'll get there.
Okay.
So
that's something to look
just be on the lookout. Just be on the lookout, because whenever I make another big announcement, whenever I make an announcement about the game, it's something people are not going to want to miss out on. So
there's something to look forward to. So yeah, thank you everyone so much for watching. Once again, check out the links in the description. That's all from us. See you in the next video.
All right, bye guys.